Do you know what is harder than going through a life-threatening experience like cancer and living with the uncertainty that it can come back anytime and there is very little that you can do to prevent it from coming back and going through the process all over again? What is harder is letting go of the life that you have had and rebuilding it back up, block by block, brick by brick. That's harder than going through a life-threatening experience. My life had changed when I was diagnosed with the most aggressive kind of breast cancer in the week of my 34th birthday. So I did what I had to do to get through cancer. And about 7 months of uncertainty, I managed to come out on the other side of cancer. Received the elusive all clear. And I couldn't be more grateful because I understood that not everybody who's touched by cancer really makes it out alive. I mean, no pun intended there. It's just how cancer is, and that's just how it operates. But what was strange was that when I made it to the other side of cancer, the big goal that I had been working towards for about 7 months, when I got there, while I was inundated with this undying gratitude, I also felt absolutely rubbish inside myself. Absolutely rubbish. And the reason why that had happened was because in a short span of about 7 months, the life that I knew it had changed completely. So I had changed physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, financially, spiritually. My whole ecosystem had changed. For example, I was no longer the girl with the gorgeous hair, or I wasn't a certain dress size, or I wasn't a certain shape or a certain complexion anymore. I remember this particular day when I was sent to a special, really specialized bone health clinic in Southwest London. And when the class began, I was really looking forward to it because my bone health had been impacted by chemo and the rest of the treatment that I have had. I was really looking forward to it and I was excited to be there. But when the class began, I noticed that most of the participants in the class were over 75 years of age. In fact, the oldest participant was 85. Now, I don't mind being part of that bone health clinic when I am 80 or 85 or 75. I think I'll have a gala time when I go there. But as a 35-year-old sitting in that class, it was one of the most distressing moments of my cancer experience because the extent of my loss, the width of it, the breadth of it, just lay bare in front of my eyes. As a 35-year-old, I was doing exactly the same things that an 80-year-old was doing there. And that explained how deep the loss was. And there was a moment when I wondered if I would be left vegetating for the rest of my life, just how I was vegetating back then, because that would definitely be worse than having cancer or even dying from it, really. That's how I felt in the moment. And so while I was somebody who was immensely grateful for having come out on the other side, I was in a very difficult space. And the brain fog was real because I had just lost my work. I mean, I couldn't go back to work with the kind of health I had then. And so a huge part of my identity had been stripped away. The whole meaning and contribution and that achievement, all that had been stripped off just like that. And I just found it very, very hard to be in that space. So the brain fog for me was real, not just physically because of the treatment and what I was going through, but because of this lack of clarity. Why am I feeling so rubbish when I should be on cloud 9? And I was grateful and I was happy, and yet I was so confused. And it was at this moment in my cancer journey that I found out about this amazing charity who are situated in Southwest London near Clapham Junction. They are called Paul's Cancer Support Centre. And saying that my life changed, my life transformed when I went to Paul's is an understatement. There were so many things that I achieved when I went to Paul's. The first one was I felt seen, I felt heard, I felt understood. I realized that everything that I was experiencing was normal and it was part of going through cancer experience. And that gave me the confidence that, hey, I'm not going crazy and that it is going to be okay. That was one big thing that came out of going to Paul's. And at Paul's, that's where the healing really began for me. So we started with some physical therapies that helped me manage some physical side effects, but I also had access to counseling. So that psychotherapy really helped me grieve for the life that I had lost, make sense of the loss that I was experiencing, learn some coping strategies. And when I had done that enough, and when I was able to look forward to my new life, that's when I underwent some life transformational coaching. And through all this work that I did at Paul's, I had a deepened understanding of who I was and what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Hi Jillian, hi Sevda. I had clarity on not just what had happened, but what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And that's when those bricks, those blocks that helped me rebuild my life started coming back together. Through Paul's, I also understood how to become a Macmillan Cancer Voice, which essentially means that as somebody touched by cancer, you become a volunteer for them. You become a voice for people touched by cancer. And oh my God, I had so much fun doing that work. Macmillan Cancer Support are one of the biggest charities that work in the field of cancer in the UK. I spoke for them, I wrote for them, I sat on their strategy building workshops for future cancer patients, survivors and their families. I even did a photo shoot for them. I remember wearing my red hoodie that I had bought from Cambridge written on my chest. The hoodie like this, and standing with a placard in the busy old street in central London. And we had the photographers, and there were people who were standing and looking and wondering what on earth was going on, because there was nothing written on the placard. That slogan would be dropped later. So I had my celebrity moments with Macmillan Cancer Support. I did lots of photo shoots for them. I built material for them, contributed. And it was a great opportunity for me to give something back to the society. And my guess is I wouldn't have got involved in all of that work if I were not with Paul's. I even sat at some strategy sessions with the NHS in a room full of oncologists and psychotherapists and all the people who work in the field of cancer. So that was amazing. But what really came out of all these experiences when I was with Paul's is that I understood who I was, and that understanding, that insight helped me shape the rest of my life. So I decided to set myself up as a coach. And when the decision point came, when I wanted to niche down and decide what is it that I'm going to focus on as a coach, I decided to draw back on the experiences that I've had in the world of cancer with Paul's, with Macmillan, and all this amazing work that I had been doing. Literally, that was life-changing, not just for myself, but future cancer patients, survivors, and their families. Because one of the things that I did with Paul's was speaking. And I was an experienced speaker, but it was a very corporate or fun kind of speaking that I had been doing. But taking my personal story and putting it in a very business context, I say business because there was a very clear objective that we were trying to achieve. In this case, fundraising, taking a personal story. So I was the protagonist of the story, but Paul's, they were the heroes of that story. And showing them as heroes and helping them raise funds, amazing amount of funds through my story. That is something that I experienced there. So in my post-cancer life, when I set myself up as coach, I had already experienced and delivered the magic of storytelling, especially with a very clear, tangible benefit, not just for information and inspiration, but also a very, very tangible output. And so when I niched down as a coach, I said, I am going to work as a story coach, and I'm going to help people do this. So obviously there were lots of factors that attributed to this big decision, but my experiences at Paul's were a key player, because that was evidence. That was evidence that this thing really works. So Paul's Cancer Support Centre, located near Clapham Junction in southwest London, they are my absolute favourite charity. If I hadn't been to Paul's, if I hadn't become part of their world, if they hadn't become part of my world, my life after cancer could have been very different. I know it would have been a lot harder, and the journey would have taken a lot longer, and I wouldn't be probably a meaningful contributor to the economy and be this thriver that I am now. I would probably still be a survivor, or I would have taken much longer to get where I am today. So I'm immensely grateful to Paul's, and so this is what I want to do. What I have decided is, in my spirit to support this amazing set of people, this amazing charity, my proposition to you is that anything that you buy from me this side of Christmas, I'm going to share a percentage of the revenue with them. So if you buy a £20 book, I forgot to bring my book here, my book, they get a percentage of that. If you buy a £6,000 program from me, they get a much bigger percentage of that, because it's going to be dependent on, it's going to be a flat percentage of the amount. And I'm going to collect all of this amount and send it off to Paul's, because, hey, they truly helped me rebuild my life. And if I had a choice, honestly, I would take away cancer from this world. I would want a world without cancer. That's what my choice is. But you see, it's not my choice to make. It's not under my control. So I want to do the next best thing. I want to help people touched by cancer, patients, survivors, people living with cancer, people living beyond cancer. That's the category I fall in. Their families, their carers. I want to help all of those people navigate this experience with as little hardship as possible. And that's just my way of saying thank you, world, thank you, universe, thank you, Paul's, for this second chance at life. I know that this journey was long, and there were lots of people who played a role, starting with my consultants, my healthcare team, who were absolutely there and made sure that I am here today. But when it came to rebuilding my life, that's where Paul's had a huge opportunity. So people, if you have ever considered storytelling or using personal stories to build your business, this is the best time for you to jump on the bandwagon and sign up with me, because you will be able to get my coaching at my current prices for 2020. The prices go up in 2021, and you will be able to help lots of cancer patients and their families in the future through this absolutely amazing, freakingly amazing charity, Paul's Cancer Support Centre. So take that decision now. If you're sitting on the fence, take that decision. Sign up now. Send me a message. Let's have a chat. And I'm also going to drop the link to Paul's just underneath this video, and look them up. And if you know somebody who needs help, a helping hand with cancer, and if they're based in London, just send them their way. That could be the most amazing gift you give to them this side of Christmas. Right? Thank you for listening, and I will speak to you soon.